All right, so here's my Jeep again. I had a problem. My power steering hose got a leak in it. It started leaking right here. The leak is actually like a little pinhole right here, right on the hose. I don't know how it got there, but and I'll check my fluid and it's probably empty. Yeah, it's empty. Luckily I noticed it while I was still at the garage. This is a pressure hose, and they had it for, it was cheap, so I just bought it locally. If all else fails, read the directions. We're gonna do it in English today. Basically, put the O-rings on. All right, I know that already, but just want to make sure there's nothing else special in the instructions. And they make it leak a little bit of fluid. That's why I don't have it in the driveway. I got it out here on the gravel, and I do have a thing under it, so hopefully it'll catch most of it. Okay, that hose is gonna fit. Let me put the O-rings on it. Make sure they're clean. You got a bunch of dirt on your fingers or something like I normally do. So next thing I'm gonna do is break this bottom one loose. Down here in this hole right here, 18 millimeter. Probably help if I move this plastic out of the way, but all right, I broke it loose. That's why they call it busted knuckle, right? Or forearm or whatever. This right down here. Once you get it loose, if you got them good fingers from doing this all the time, you can a lot of times turn it with your finger. And it's going to leak some fluid out. Here's the O-ring that was in it with it. So that's the old O-ring, so it came out, right? The O-ring came out with this in too. Okay, but you always want to check and make sure there's no debris or O-ring left in there. It's always good to have a shop towel handy. Now, a lot of people are like, hey, clean this lip up and all that. I'm gonna start and push outward. I don't want to get dirt into the pump. You should really clean it before you take the old one off. But I want to make sure there's no debris down in there. Okay, we're good. And this one's got a little bit of something, but you don't want to get any debris down in this power steering pump. Like I said, it's probably better to clean it. If you've been out mud and playing in the dirt like I have, it'd be better to go wash it off before you even try this. So new hose. You don't want to get dirt in it. I got it. It's cool to have a dirty truck, but not really. All right, so a little bit of power steering fluid on the O-ring just to make sure. Okay, and then the O-ring's going to stay on there hopefully, but you don't want to get any dirt in it. You want it to go right in the hole first shot, right? Left the door open. Hopefully it didn't kill my battery. Okay, so it got started. This one comes around like this. Goes in like that. And get that one started. Okay, and I can kind of bring this one around. There we go. Now that I got it started where it's supposed to be. And it may want to fight you somewhat. You can always adjust it later, but get that going good. Good threads. All right, cool. All right, so that's where that hose is going to be, like that. All right, you don't want to cross thread it. You got to be careful. If you cross thread it, you're done. New pump and maybe, or another new hose, but this looks like it's brass. So you don't want to crank it too tight. Okay, be careful with it. But you want it to snug down in there. I want it tight. I'm just gonna smash that O-ring, so, all right, it's tight now. Kind of don't want it rubbing on this. It's in good shape. Let's get this one down here done. This one may take you a little bit. But if you got them fingers, you can get most of it with your finger. If you can see it down here. That one's in there pretty good. They're brass, so don't get too crazy with it. All right. That's a power steering hose replacement. So let me show you a couple things here. Okay, this is the little ratchet wrenches. They work pretty good, but because I was using on a hose, I got lucky. This is 16 of my 18, right? And these, so a box in can get on all the sides, right? This is a 12 point. Most box ins are what they call 12 points. A socket that only has 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is cut loose, right? This is cut out so you can get in there. This is called a line wrench. Here's a bigger one. Here's a 17 and a 19. I didn't have an 18. I got lucky that it wasn't on that tight. I think I did that hose probably years ago, or I might have just done it, putting a motor in it. But I used the old hose. But so I didn't have an 18. But this is called a line wrench, is what I've always called them. It could be called something different nowadays. I don't know. It's what I've always called them. And it's basically for doing lines, like tubing, right? If you notice, when this grabs on something, a nut, for example, let's say this is a nut, right? And this square is a tube that comes out. This only grabs these two positions. So you take a chance of rounding it off, right? I need to clean that before I put it back. However, when you use a line wrench, you slide this over the tubing and it goes in. And now you're grabbing on 4 of the 6 sides, and you're kind of also grabbing here a little bit. So you've got a tubing sticking out. You can't get a box in. You can't get the box in on it, right? Because it's got to go through the tubing. You do this, you're only gripping 2, maybe this piece over here, but more likely not. You're only grabbing 2 sides. So you have a chance of rounding these off, these corners off. This will go over the tubing, and now you're grabbing more sides. So when you do like brake lines and power steering lines and everything, the only reason why I didn't do it is because I've only got like 1 or 2 18mm wrenches, and I don't have any line wrenches in 18mm. So, but that explains why these wrenches are the way they are. Hope that helps somebody. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, since we're here, is we need to fill up our reservoir again, right? So that's what we're going to do. And that is how you don't want to pour. If you notice, a quart of something is one side to the other, right? If it's brand new and full, it's going to gurgle, try to come out. Face this right here to the top. You can do it like this at an angle. If you notice, it's coming out slowly and it's not gurgling. And I'm not using a funnel. I know I spilt a little bit, but whatever. And I'm gonna fill that reservoir all the way to the top. And they say, okay, here's my hot and cold, but I've got air bubbles that's gotta come out. I wanna put the lid on it. And if you got a funnel, use it. I'm kind of in a hurry today. I got to go work on this guy's Corvette today. So the next thing I want to do is crank it up. And I'm going to turn my wheels to the left and to the right. Work them air bubbles out. You can hear it whining a little bit. It's because it's got air bubbles in it. All the way to the left and all the way to the right. A couple times, quite a few times. And now we can check our fluid. And look, it's got some air bubbles in it still. And it went down. See the air bubbles in here? It's kind of whitish, it's got air bubbles in it. But they'll settle down, and we don't have any major leaks. I know I spilled some fluid, but so another thing I'm going to do is to make sure we don't have any bad leaks is wipe this right here clean. Wipe the bottom of the reservoir to make sure it's not dripping out. And I'm gonna get in it and turn the wheel back and left and to the right again to make sure. See how there's no fluid on there right now, down there? On this piece right here, there's no fluid around that fitting. So I wanna turn it left and right. Work on getting air bubbles out. So just to kind of go over real quick, new power steering hose, 16 millimeter here. This one's probably a 15, you know, when you get a new part, sometime that's off by size. Down here is an 18. I've wiped the surfaces off, turned the wheel a few times left and right to get the air bubbles out. The fluid's at about the right level now. But put that new hose on. I got it locally at like the local AutoZone because it was a lifetime warranty, and it was less than like 20 bucks or something. And then, you know, I put power steering fluid in it, filled it up. But so that pretty much does it. All right, and then so what I'll end up doing is I'll drive it a little bit, and then I'll check the power steering fluid. You know, my dad always taught me something, especially on the older vehicles. Every time, every payday, because you just got paid, go fill your tank up. That way you can get back and forth to work for the next week or whatever. But I don't ever put $5 or $10 in it. You know, at some point in my life I was struggling. I mean, it's always a struggle, but doing a little better, I'll always fill my tank up. I run it till it gets close to E. Some people won't go past the quarter, and then I fill the tank up. Well, while the tank's filling up, of course you got to shut your engine off. It takes a couple minutes to fill up your tank. Come out here and check your fluids, right? Check your oil. You know, it's an old motor, it's going to have its little leaks and quirks and stuff. And check your belt. I know the engine's going to be hot, but always have a rag or something with you. You know, we used to, old school stuff is like you'd take a rag and kind of stuff it in one of the corners. Yeah, it had dirt on it, but you kind of shake it off or keep it in the cab, you know, in the center console, and you check your oil. But same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'll run this a little bit, a day or so to work, and then I'll pop the hood and check the power steering fluid and make sure it's doesn't have any leaks and everything's good. All right, thanks for watching.